Hello everyone, this is Schism here. I got a 2,500 point battle report. My Skaven versus Warriors of Chaos. Starting off my opponent's far right, he has a Gore-Beast chariot with Mark of Nurgle. To the left of that, he has 20 Warriors with Mark of Nurgle. And tucked away in the left-hand corner of that unit, there's a BSB. He's rocking the Ogre Blade, Enchanted Shield, and Mark of Nurgle. To the left of that unit, there's 20 more Warriors with the Mark of Zeech. And in that unit tucked away in the left-hand corner is an Exalted Hero with a third Eye of Zeech, Mark of Zeech, Talisman of Endurance, and Sword of Might. Behind that unit there's a Demon Prince level 4, Mark of Nurgle, Scaled Skin, Sword of Swift Slaying, and Chaos Armor. For spells you roll up Blades of Putrefaction, Miasma of Pestilence, Rancid Visitations, and Plague Wind. To the right of that Demon Prince there is a Chimera with Regeneration. Out to the left of those warriors with Mark of Zeech is 20 warriors with the Mark of Khorne and halberds. To the left of that halberd unit there is a second Mark of Nurgle Gore-Beast chariot, and that rounds out the Chaos forces. Pretty small, pretty compact, definitely lacking chaff, so I should be able to maneuver freely around this particular force here. Now, for the Skaven here, on the far left there you can see I'm kind of battling the sun here as it's set, so I try and angle my body to negate as much of the sunlight as I can. So bear in mind the sun does eventually set and I don't have to block it as much. So there, behind that house there's a Warp Lightning Cannon. In front of that Warp Lightning Cannon is a Doom Wheel. To the right of the Doom Wheel there is a Rat Dart. To the right of the Rat Dart there's 30, 36, 34, 35, 30 some odd clan rats with shields, and in that unit there is a warlock with a doom rocket. And in the middle of my forces here I have 60 plague monks with the plague banner. In front of that I have another rat dart. To the right of the rat dart is a doom wheel. Behind the doom wheel there is a warlord on a bone breaker. He has heavy armor, enchanted shield, talisman of preservation, and an ogre blade, so the rock for the unit there. And he is in a unit of 40 Storm Vermin with a banner of discipline. Also in the second rank of that unit is the BSB with the armor of silvered steel, luckstone, and a great weapon, giving a little added protection there, being in the second rank, and giving that nice reroll out to this my core here. To the right of that there is 30 plus more clan rats with shield, and in that unit is a level 4 with a dispel scroll. He's got 3 warpstone tokens, and for spells I rolled up all on Ruin. I got Howling Warp Gale, Scorch, Crack Skull, and the 13th. Now normally I wouldn't take the Howling Warp Gale, but he does have a Chimera, which does prove to be some use, especially since he places Chimera behind behind his units there. So if I can negate him flying off the bat, then he won't be able to. He'll be stuck behind his forces there. So I found a use for Howling Warp Gale in this match. Otherwise, I would usually disregard it. Generally, it's not a very good spell. And there's my Hellspawn, Hellspawn there on the far end there. Hell Pit Abomination, excuse me. So turn 1 goes to Warriors of Chaos. He takes his Chimera and swings all the way to the left flank here, behind the building. And is forced to do a general advance in the center, like so. And nothing eventful happens in the magic phase. That takes us to Skaven turn 1. I take my Doom Whale, and seeing how he's positioned on the far left side of the board, it was kind of a bad spot for him to begin with. He's going to have to go through some sort of dangerous terrain to get to where he needs to go. So I take, instead of going through the forest, which would probably be 2 dangerous terrain checks, I go through the fence, which should be 1. However, he fails it and does 3 wounds to himself off the bat. Granted, that's pretty bad. However, he could have completely killed himself, so I guess I'll take it. And at least he's where he needs to go. My other Doom Whale surges forward just to make connections with his main lines there. The option was, well, the better option would be to go through the forest and get around the flank here. However, that puts him in line of sight of the Gore-Beast chariot, which is not good, and also he would have to take a dangerous terrain test. And seeing how as I failed my first dangerous terrain test, I really wasn't really willing to risk it here. Now this is a really bad position for the Doom Whale. It should be on the far flanks. However, there's all terrain over there. It would take forever for this to make an impact on the battle. That's why I ended up more centrally located. The bad part is going to be going up against ranks and banners. So I know this thing is not going to win a combat. So it's kind of lose, 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 lose based on the way the terrain was set up in this game. So I just have to hope it does something good. And the Hell Pit Abomination moves up through the forest as so. Now, my plague guys there, my plague monks there stay where they are. The rat dart pretty much stays where it is. It moves up a little bit, and the storm vermin there move up a little bit too. But the doom wheel is closest to the warriors of chaos there, the Nurgle ones, so I will be able to zap some of them at least. In the magic phase, I go and try and sneak off Howling Warp Gale to keep that Chimera from really doing anything. I try and see how much he values the Chimera and see if he'll throw some dice to get it so I can cast other spells. However, he just lets it go. And I don't cast anything else. In the shooting phase, this Doom Wheel here goes and zaps off the Gorby's Chariot here, which is pretty amazeballs. I really can't ask for anything better than that. It's already got its points back, pretty much. And yeah, that's a hell of a performance there for this Doom Wheel. And quite a bit of luck. This Doom Wheel, however, only does 1 wound to the Nurgle warriors. And in the shooting, also in the shooting phase, the cannon, the Warp Lightning Cannon, goes and takes off 6 of the Tizneech warriors, or Zeech warriors, excuse me, which is good because they're always tough to kill. So killing a few of them in the shooting phase is always good. That takes us to Warriors of Chaos turn 2. He takes his Gorby's Chariot and goes into Hell Pit Abomination. Kind of a questionable move, kind of not. It depends on his impact hits. If he can roll good with the impact hits, then he should be golden there. Because he does have that high toughness he can rely on. And then he takes his Nurgle Warriors there and goes into my Doom Wheel, which is a good play. My Doom Wheel shouldn't be able to withstand the punishment, especially with that hero in there with the Ogre Blade. That's pretty devastating. So, but, you know, with the random movement, you know, and with the way the venues or the options I had to go, it really was my only option based on deployment. He takes the Chimera and goes into the other Doom Wheel, and his Demon Prince moves over, and you can see his forces here in the center just generally advance. In the magic phase, he does get off Rancid Visitation. However, it's pretty paltry showing. He only manages to kill 1 of the Storm Vermin, and I do pass my test here, so it doesn't get to hit me twice. And then his impact hits and his attacks. He does 3 wounds to my Hell Pit Abomination, which is pretty grisly. It's already half dead, which is not good for me. And the Hell Pit has a pretty shitty, crappy showing there, and only does 1 wound on the Gorby's Chariot. Also here, in the combat, he only manages to do 1 wound to the Doom Wheel here, which is not good for him. However, just because ranks and banners, he's going to win this no matter what. There's no way I'm going to be able to do, you know, 4+ wounds to even try and tie combat. So I do 2 wounds to him. He does 1 to me. And, of course, I break from combat on my crappy leadership. And he pursues. I break straight through my Storm Vermin and off the board. That's really bad deployment and a move on my behalf. So that Doom Wheel dies with little to no effort on his behalf. And his Nurgle warriors end up right there. In the combat over here, I managed to get a wound off through his Chimera there, which I think is pretty good fortune for me. He does a wound to my Doom Wheel here, which is not good, so that gives him a charge. So he's going to win combat here. And I break. I go over the fence that I tripped over already. I fail my dangerous terrain again, and I just blow up the Doom Wheel. So, yeah, pretty bad luck there. Stupid fence. So that takes us to Skaven turn 2. So I don't really have a choice here with my Storm Vermin. Seeing how I can catch this Nurgle unit out in the open and unsupported, I'm going to have to take it in combat. So I might as well take it with my best fighting unit. So I just take them and I charge right in there. I take the Rat Dart and I go up to gum up the Zeech warriors there. I take my level 4 out of the unit and try and get a path. Maybe I can crack Skull straight through his Nurgle unit, straight into Big Poppy there, Big Poppy Slime Ball, whatever you want to call it. Maybe I can have him, you know, fail his initiative test or whatever on a 6 and just die. It's a long shot, but it's better than no shot. And I take my Warp Lightning, my Warlock Engineer with a Doom Rocket. I take him out of the unit. I take him that magical 14 inches away and attempt to bombardier one of his units there in the center. And the magic phase, once again, I have enough dice where I can do this. I try and bait out some of his dice. I go for Highland Warp Gale and try to make the Chimera's life difficult. He lets it go, and I can't cast anything else the rest of that turn. The Doom Rocket goes off and plunks dead center on this Khorne unit here and takes out 8 of their number, so that's fantastic. However, against Skaven, 12 Khorne warriors is more than enough to mop up a whole entire unit in 1 turn. So, although devastating, not devastating enough. In the combat here, he does 2 more wounds to my Hell Pit Abomination. I'm hanging on by a spaghetti string. And I do manage to do 3 wounds to him, so now he's hanging on by a spaghetti string. And whoever wins this combat will free up a pretty devastating unit that'll definitely sway the rest of this game. So I'm hoping I can do that wound before he can finish me off here, because it's going to make a difference. In the combat here, he issues a challenge with Exalted BSB. I take it with my Storm Vermin Champ. I really don't want to, take as many. I want to negate as many wounds as I can. He does 2 wounds to the Champ, which is pretty bad showing for a Chaos Champion there, or Exalted Hero, I should say. And then he does 5 wounds to the rest of my unit. My Warlord on Bonebreaker does a massive amount of trauma to the unit. I kill 8, and I think that was pretty much almost all by the that one was from the BSB, and I think most of this was by the Warlord and the Bonebreaker there, because the Storm Vermin unit is not too good on its own. But I do manage to do more wounds than he does. I have a charge. I have more ranks. We both have BSBs, so I win this combat quite handily. He flees, and I run him down. So I can wipe that unit off the board there, and that's a huge weight off my shoulders. That takes us to Warriors of Chaos turn through. He takes his big poppy slime ball there, and he charges my Storm Vermin with my General. Now, I'm not too happy about this, because he's going to issue challenges. My champion's already dead. Doesn't matter how much I win combat by. He's not unstable or anything. He's just straight unbreakable. So I'm going to be gummed down forever. So I don't want my General being in the back, so I'm going to have to accept this challenge. My Warlord does have a good chance to kill him. However, he does have that ward save and a really good armor save, so it's going to take a lot of effort. However, I got 4 attacks from my Warlord and 5 from the Bonebreaker. Hopefully I'll be able to pierce through him. And he takes his Zeech Warriors and goes into the Rat Dart, because he has to. His Corn Warriors make this charge into my Clan Rats here, and he takes his Chimera into the side just to add extra insult. He goes for a Miasma or Pestilence on my Storm Vermin here. I just go and throw my Scroll, because I don't need anything else debilitating me in this combat. I need this to be a straight combat if I have any chance to slay his Demon Prince. Luckily, my Hell Pit Abomination eviscerates the Gorby's Chariot, and I just return to reform here, hopefully to affect the middle of battle here. He's only got 1 wound left, so I'm actually really cautious about how I devote him to the rest of this battle, because I really don't want to lose the points at this juncture. So the Demon Prince does go ahead and challenge. I'm not going to take out the BSB. I'm not that stupid. My Warlord has a 4+ ward save. He's got a 2-up armor save. Hopefully I'll be able to survive his Strength 6 onslaught. I got a ward, but he managed to sneak 2 wounds through on my Warlord, so he's already half dead, which is not good. And I only managed to do 1 wound to him. So things are looking pretty grim here. Of course, I win the combat because I have a BSB in all these ranks. However, unbreakable, So in this slaughter fest to the right, to the left here, the Chimera, I managed to do a wound to the Chimera, so I consider this to be a moral victory. With only like 3 or 4 attacks on him, so I consider it to be pretty amazeballs. However, he goes and hauls off. It doesn't matter what I do to this corn unit. I might have killed 2 here. It's inconsequential. And he just goes and slaughters 19 of the number, and yeah. I break. He runs me down. Well, he has to run me down with his Cornite Warriors here, and he ends up right there. And his Chimera just turns to try and take out that Warp Lightning Cannon. And these Zeech Warriors here kill the Rat Dart and just reform to face. There's a horde of 60 Plague Monks just waiting to get their claws in there. So that takes us to Skaven turn 3. I take my level 4 and I move him up to get in some nasty spell range here. My Warlock Engineer moves over to try and bait out the Corn Warriors when they do reform next turn. And so I take my Plague Monks and I slam them into the front of his Zeech Warriors, and my Hell Pit tries to mosey around that stone there. They can't do anything in the center as is. I don't want him going into the Corn Warriors. I don't want him going in the Zeech Warriors, and I don't even want him going into... right now my plan is to get in the back of the Demon Prince, but it's going to take a couple turns to get there. So in the Magic phase, I bait out some of his dice and with the Scorch and stuff like that. And I think at this point I do throw 6 dice at Crack's Call, and I did use a Warpstone token to bait it through, excuse me. And I managed to get off a Crack's Call here, and my obvious target is this Initiative 2 Chimera. The spell goes off, he couldn't catch it, and he fails his initiative test, so there goes the Chimera. In the combat over here, the challenge goes on. I do 1 wound to him. He does 1 wound to me. He's got 2 wounds left. I have 1 wound left. I'm not liking this scenario here. And the combat here. Now, I'm frenzied. I have 2 attacks in the front row. I think I have 8 guys in base contact here. That's 24 attacks. Plus 8, plus 8. I have an inordinate amount of attacks here. I don't do a single wound to this Tzeentch Warriors unit. This was so depressing. It was so depressing I couldn't even get angry about it. He hauls off and does 7 wounds to me. However, I stick around here. No, that was just... ugh. So that takes us to Warriors of Chaos turn 4. He just reforms his Core Knight Warriors here. In the combat over here, he does the last wound. You know, he's initiative insane amount. So he does the last wound to my Warlord here. So sad affair here. I just lost all hope in this combat. It's all gone to crap at this point. Without my Warlord, he's just gonna chew through this unit. So with Thunderstomps. So in the combat here, he does 5 more wounds to my Plague Monks. I actually managed to do, after I lose Frenzy, I managed to do a wound to him. A single wound. So I lose that combat, and yeah, I just break, and I run, and he runs me down. So 60, excuse me, Plague Monks just got run down by a couple Tzeentch Warriors, yeah. That takes us to turn 4. I take my Skaven here. I take my Hell Pit Abomination. I keep swinging around the back. I reform this unit of Clan Rats here to try and affect the middle. I don't really expect them to do much after the horrible showing I just saw of the Plague Monks. I move my level 4 out of the charge arc of the Core Knight Warriors here. Just going to try and magic something off the board. And I go for a Crack's Call, which is a really bad choice against Initiative 5 Warriors of Chaos. I really should have went for Scorch here. However, that's the spell I did go through. I do get it off, and I do manage to slay a single Core Knight Warrior here. In the combat here with the Demon Prince, he just goes on an all-out slap fest here. He kills 5 of the Storm Vermin. Of course, I lose the combat. I don't do any wounds to him, and yeah, I stick around. This takes us to turn 5, Warriors of Chaos. He just reforms his Tzeentch Warriors here. His main goal, he could have went into the Clan Rats here, but his main goal here is to try and get that Storm Vermin off the board as soon as possible and pick up those points. He's got his Core Knight Warriors in tow right behind. So it goes back to the Slapfest here. He just takes out 6 more of the Storm Vermin. I do nothing to him. I stick around. My turn 5, I realize that if I take this Hell Pit Abomination into the rear, he's going to strike first and kill this Hell Pit, and I'm going to lose 200 plus points for no reason whatsoever. So I just take the Hell Pit and I just move him out of the way. So in the magic phase, I do manage this time to smarten up. I go for Scorch. However, I scorch the Tzeentch Warriors here, and I only managed to kill 2. But that's just a couple more dead. And in this Slapfest, once again, he just kills 8 of my Storm Vermin. Now I'm hitting. He's marking Nurgle, so I need a stupid dice roll to hit him. And then he's Toughness 5. I need a stupid dice roll to wound him. And then he's got the stupid armor save. Then he's got a ward save on top of it. So, like, I'm trying. Like, I'm getting hits through. I'm getting, like, 2-3 wounds. And he's just pinging him off with his armor saves. I think one went to a ward save once. I thought I was actually going to kill him at one point, but no. He was just making saves like a boss here. He kills 8 of my number. I finally break. He tries to chase me down. He doesn't catch me, so I just flee. And end up right there. So turn 6 for the Warriors of Chaos. I don't take any pictures. Stupid me. Pretty much what happens here is the Demon Prince charges a Storm Vermin, and they flee off the board. And then his Warriors of Tzeentch try and charge the Clan Rats, and they fail the charge. So that's good there, because I really don't want to lose any more points if I don't have to. So a pretty uneventful turn that really didn't even warrant any pictures. So that brings us to Skaven turn 6 here, and I just, knowing how the board looks, he's actually at this point probably winning the game. He's got 2 of his Warriors units left, and I have pretty much Tiddlywinks and scrap piles on the board. I go for the Hail Mary, dreaded 13th. I throw 6 dice, and I don't even Irresistible. I think I did Irresistible. I think I used one of my Warpstone tokens here to power it through. And I think I rolled low, and I rolled like a 5 or something like that. And I used the extra Warpstone token to power through the spell. I managed to hit 25 without miscasting, and I get the 13th off, and there's nothing. He tries to dispel it, and he can't hit it with his paltry dispel dice. And I 13, and I completely delete his Core Knight Warrior unit. That's a huge point swings at this point of the game. However, I don't know if that's enough to sway it in my favor. And then this happens. I take my Warp Lightning Cannon and I aim for the Demon Prince. He's out of combat now. He's completely exposed. And I manage to bounce the cannonball straight through him at strength 8 and take him off the board. So at that point, that was good night, Norse. That was the nail in the coffin. That was the vegetables on the vine. That was the killing blow here. So that leaves him with only one unit on the board. The Marcus Zeech Warrior is there, and I'm definitely going to outclass him at that point. So some notes from this game here. Doomwheel misplay. I don't think I've ever played the Doomwheels as dumb as I have in this scenario. Well, there's a lot of forest on the flanks of the board. I mean, failing the dangerous terrain test twice and killing my Doomwheel that way was very unlucky, but the way it was, I didn't have a choice. That one was on the flank. I really can't blame myself there, but I guess it was more of a good play on him on the Chimera, fishing out the Doomwheel. Sometimes the random movement is amazing, and sometimes it's a handicapped. And in this scenario, it was more of a handicap for me. But placing the other Doomwheel, I should have just took the long road around and just went completely around the forest instead of going right in the center lines. Of course, he's going to charge it with the main block, and the ranks and the banners would just run it down. And then worse off, it just bounced straight through. I had it lined up so it bounced straight through my unit off the board. That was completely dumb. Yeah, so that was definitely very embarrassing on my behalf. I definitely need to be more aware of the Doomwheel, its movement, and what its role is on a battlefield. Putting it front and center like that, it was a dumb display of tactics. Definitely on the far-reaching flank, take the time, go around the whole battlefield, and have it show up for the late game. Would have definitely been a lot smarter play. Also, the Skaven in this, I know Warriors of Chaos are very costly, and they definitely are very resilient, and I know Skaven are a lot cheaper, but in this, they definitely equated just punching bags in this game. Skaven as combat blocks against Warriors of Chaos are just ragdolls, and in this, every time I committed to battle, besides that one Storm Vermin unit. And granted, that Storm Vermin unit should be able to do something in combat with a Warlord on a Bonebreaker. I got a BSB in there with some Strength 6 attacks. So that should be able to do some damage. And it did. It took out a unit that it had to. However, going against an Unbreakable Demon Prince was not a good matchup. But all the other Skaven units just completely folded. And it just goes to show the resilience of the Chaos Warriors and the lack of punch that sometimes the Skaven infantry units can have. But, however, they did their job. They held up the units and let the rest of the toys do what they had to do to clean up the Warriors of Chaos units, the magic and some of the more machines there. And that just goes to the last one, the Kings of Swing. There's no other army I've ever played that can swing a game one way or another as fast as the Skaven can. Their cannons, their spells, the spell set as is, currently constituted, the Crack's Call can just utterly devastate something, and the Dreaded 13th, and you have, these Warp Lightning Cannons and the Doomwheels, the zaps from the Doomwheel. They can, even the Doom Rocket, they can swing a battle faster than any other army, in my opinion, one way or another, and they can completely hurt themselves, but they're definitely the kings of swing. So, victory to Skaven. Thank you very much for staying tuned. I'll catch you next time.